So I'm going to share in this video a really strange experience that me and my dogs had. Really strange, and how it impacted my tarot practice, how it brought me to my decks to match the energy of that experience with the energy of a tarot deck. I share an incredible tarot reading as well at the end of this, and I think overall this experience and this time with tarot has shown me that there is more than we can see. There is more to understand. It speaks about the dimensions and the portals that are out there. It speaks of the reality of magic. And for me, that's something that I really want to be talking about on this channel. The way that magic interacts and weaves around our lives and our days, and how tarot can open doorways to that. So first of all, I need to talk about the experience. So, via word of mouth from a local, I was told about a walk that I didn't know about. Drive down the road, find a tiny lay-by and spy a bridge over the river. Cross the river and you'll be near a different woods to walk the dogs. So I set off down this path with a view down on the river to explore. But it wasn't far down this road at the start of the walk that I felt an energy coming up the road, and there in front of me a perfect green tree circle, separate and different in colour to all its surroundings. I scrambled down the bank to enter it. The magic and the energy coming off this place was palpable. It literally took my breath away. I could feel this place energetically before I could even see it. The colours were different, the textures were different, and the circle of trees was perfect, which you can't really see until I look up. And then as I looked around, I noticed that the inner circle was kind of boundaried by rocks or leaves or plants or fallen trees. Everywhere seemed boundaried. I walked through and stepped out of the boundary and carried on exploring down this path, not really a path, more of an animal track, just to see what was the other side. Are you exploring? The path led its way through yellow gorse, which I pushed my way through onto a beach. Here the dogs played for a while in the water, and it was only when we turned around to go back up the steep slope back to that circle of trees, that magic circle, that weird things began to happen. Rupert began to act incredibly strange, freezing and crying and whining and refusing to move. I pulled my phone back out and started to film. I caught the last 2 times he froze and started whining. Go on then, up you go. And then, having stalled and cried all the way up this slope, he suddenly went into full charge mode, followed by a perplexed Luna. This is the type of run he only does when he spots something to chase. So you can imagine my surprise when I got to the top of the slope and saw him frozen in the very centre of the circle, staring at us, unmoving. And as I looked at him, his face seemed to change and his eyes went white. All of a sudden I didn't recognise my own dog, and I felt scared. I didn't know whether to keep filming. I think this was bravado filming, just trying to convince myself everything was okay. And worryingly, Luna was wedged against my leg as well, even though I was encouraging her to go and play with Rupert, trying to make this feel more normal when it desperately didn't feel normal. In fact, here I'm backing to a tree because I don't want to walk any closer to my own dog. And then he suddenly charged at us. And the noise he made wasn't a normal noise, and the way he was playing here, it didn't feel like play. Everything felt incredibly strange, and again he froze and I backed again to a tree. And again I tried to encourage poor Luna to join in and play to try and normalise this. She was having none of it. And then slowly, with my back against the tree, I watched him return to his normal self.
Ray.
We exited the circle and I breathed a sigh of relief, to be honest. I just didn't know what had just happened. I'd watched my dog's face change, his eye colour change, his energy change, his mannerisms change, and then slowly come back to himself again. As I wandered the rest of the woods, I pondered what the hell had just happened. And what I found was a new woodland where the energy did feel at times like it was warning energy. I turned round on a number of paths because it just felt too foreboding, too unwelcoming, until I found myself on this path. And even on this path there were fallen trees to scramble over. It felt like boundaries and warnings were a big part of this walk, although there were some magical finds too.
Hi. Come on then. This way. Come on then.
So that was my really strange experience with my dogs on that new walk in Wales, and I thought long and hard about whether to even share it. Sharing that small 5-minute video made me question all the things I believe, because to go public on the internet with a title saying "Did my dog become possessed by the Fae?" is something to put out there. And I thought, gosh, do I really want people thinking that I believe in fairies? Do I really believe in fairies, or do I believe in energy and equate that to some sort of fantasy mythological creature like fairies, or do I actually believe in the Fae? And it really got me questioning, and I've been through all cycles of conversation with myself, like, is this real? Am I actually going mad? They're very real questions that have been going through my mind. And how much do I want to share? But it was just so fascinating to see and watch my dog change in front of me. And yeah, it was just really, it was odd. And I knew that the energy was radiating off that place before I was even level with it. I could feel it coming down the road. So that was very real as well. It was all very, very real, very tangible, very strange. And I've come to the conclusion that I do believe in stuff. I believe that there are things out in the natural world, and there are beings, and there are dimensions, and there are parallel worlds that we only know a part of. So I came home and I started pulling out some fairy decks, and I thought, because it was such an incredible experience, let's see if I can match a deck to life, do a like life experience tarot match, and even see if I can pull a card to do with, you know, what exactly the hell was that. So I just thought as well it'd be a lovely chance for me to sit and flip through some decks and just share some decks with you. I haven't for a long time done that. So in the realm of sort of fae decks, if that's even what it was, then there are lots of different representations of fairies. Like you've got the Tinkerbell kind of Disney-fied version of the fairy, which is like some sort of dinky flying princess, or you've got kind of like say a more alien aspect in this, which is the Tarot of the Sidhe by Emily Carding, which I think was my very first fairy deck I ever bought. So in this deck, the energy is definitely not that Disney-fied twee sort of Tinkerbell energy. It is something a lot more mysterious and a lot stranger. It's darker as well, and it's more fleshed out, I think, in this deck than in a lot of fairy decks. You can feel like the north, south, east and west, the light and the dark of an actually fully fleshed out world in this deck, I think, which is, I think, what makes it such an incredible deck. So do I think that the energy of that experience matched this? I do, actually. I think this is quite a good match for what I experienced. So I am definitely going to possibly think about using that deck. So another deck which I intend to use this year, although I haven't got round to it yet, is the Circle of Life Tarot. So this is a circular deck, and this one as well. Let's just have a look at this. It's got the lovely mandala artwork on the back. Gosh, and again, oh, I'm surprised because, oh my gosh, immediately this one feels even more like the energy I felt than Tarot of the Sidhe. There is something a little, I don't know, foreboding about some of these figures. I think it's the way the figures are drawn. Oh my gosh, yeah, and the walk in the woods that I was on, it had a lot of waterfalls. In fact, I walked up really high and found a waterfall right at the end of the walk.
Oh my god. Hi. Come on then. This way.
Yeah, this, I think, feels a little bit disturbing. I think this feels more like a world that doesn't want you, rather than the Tower of the Sidhe. It's a very sort of alien world in the Tower of the Sidhe, but it feels like you could possibly be invited in. This feels like the world, a fairy world that doesn't want you, which I have to say is some of the energy that I did feel. Look at this, stepping into that circle, this kind of thing. Yeah, so this Circle of Life Tarot, I think that more than anything really does feel like the experience that I felt. Well, my newest fairy tarot is the Natalie Hertz deck. I love Natalie Hertz's artwork and her decks. This is the only one I've got, unfortunately. Gosh, if I could track down all of her decks, I think I would get them all. I just think her decks are incredible. So again, the style again in this is different, and I love the artwork in this. This really is a great deck. So you have some aspects of the dark woods. You have other landscapes coming in here, like immediately you've got a snowy hill top. You've got meadows and fields here. You've got rivers. So it's not quite as secret woodlandy as the last two decks, I don't think. And this feels more like a world where fairies have replaced people. It doesn't feel so hidden, this world. It feels like, you know, the fairies are on hilltops and on riverbanks and in open fields rather than hidden places. Does that make any sense? That's the energy that I'm getting from it. That card, the Ace of Wands, feels like that circle though. So yeah, this feels not quite like the energy I felt. So I think that's the least like it, to be honest, but a beautiful, gorgeous deck nonetheless. So talking about fairy worlds that are hidden away in the deep of a forest, you've got Journey of the Hidden Realm here, which I think does feel like a parallel world of sort of sprites and fairies, but kind of hidden away in the shadows. It feels like you would have to wander through some sort of fallen trees and foliage and like magic stone portals to get to meet the characters in this deck. So again, this actually does really, this feels like the energy that I felt as well. This kind of energy, very much so. Yeah, so this just feels slightly more secretive and hidden away, like you really have stumbled upon something that human eyes don't normally see. Yeah, so that's a contender for if I'm going to pull a card. Said that the Fairy Tallow by Natalie Hertz was the latest deck that I bought, but I don't think it was actually. I think it was this Enchanted for Haxa by MJ Cullinan. Now this is the mass market version. Look at that box, oh my gosh. This deck is absolutely beautiful. It really is. But does it tarot match? Does it match the energy of that experience? Oh, look how absolutely gorgeous this deck is. So there are definitely aspects of this deck, every card actually that I've pointed to that felt like the energy has been a wand or fire card so far. I've just noticed that. Yeah, so yeah, so look, this really does feel like, this again feels like the energy of those woods. Look at this. I can't describe it. I mean, the minute I stepped over the bridge, initially where the road was, the person who'd said that there was a walk down there had mentioned there were just a couple of houses down there, homes, and they were right at the start of the walk, and it looked like a road, and I wondered whether it was a usable road to their houses. So that first path, as I looked down at the river, I felt a bit uneasy. It felt like I was on somebody's driveway, and then as the road got bigger, I was worried that it was a used road and there were suddenly going to be cars on there. But then the woods one side started to feel slightly ominous, and then of course the tree circle was on the other side of the road. And it took me turning round in the woods a few times to found a path that didn't feel too ominous to walk down. In fact, the first path I was on, I actually stopped and thought, oh no, I need to trust my gut and turn around. So to be honest, there was a feeling of just having to watch myself. I don't think this deck is quite ominous enough to portray that feeling. So although I love the Enchanted for Haxa, it's not going to be this one. So of course, let's bring this one out into the mix. This is actually not a tarot, this is an oracle. So this is the Brian Froud Fairy Oracle. And I thought about this deck because I thought about these cards, which are like the all-powerful beings. And it's these cards, I think, that I think that circle felt like. It was so powerful. I mean, I'm not just wandering around the countryside just stumbling across that sort of stuff every day, or feeling something coming down the road at me every day, but on this day I did, and it makes me wonder whether there was wasn't something mightily powerful within those trees that I'd stumbled upon. So I did think about this deck for these cards, and yeah, I think I might have to definitely use this deck, I think. So I'm going to leave that one out. Another one that I thought about, which is one that I found in Waterstones bookshop, and it was reduced down to £5. And because I love Celtic decks, I couldn't really leave it there for just £5. And again, it's one that hasn't had much love. I really dislike this card. This card kind of puts me off using it, to be honest, but gosh. So could this give some answers? Possibly, because it was a Welsh woodland that I was in. So I'm in the land of the Celts. This might be worth a card pull. The She with Tree Spirit. It's almost like it's telling me to use it. So yeah, this is, oh, step out. That's kind of given me chills a little bit. That's given me chills because I think that card does match the energy. Gosh, okay. Oh, got the Morrigan. So it's a lovely little deck if you can get past some of the artwork. If, like me, you're not too sure about some of the artwork. So that's definitely a possibility, which I didn't think it was going to be. And then of course I couldn't not bring out the Forest of Enchantment Tarot, because it just did feel like a magical forest. I wonder whether this doesn't feel, though, a little bit more storybook and not kind of scary fairy. Scary fairy, that should be a term, because it was scary fairy. And the only other time that I felt that sort of scary fairy energy is when I did a video where I went exploring again in Wales and found like a secret path that felt like it sealed me in. And that day I literally felt like I was about to be stolen from the fae. There was definitely an air of scary fairy about it. This Six of Boons is one of my all-time favourite tarot cards. You know, I love that card so much. Yeah, so although I love this deck so much, it doesn't feel scary enough. Again, it feels like a world that if you stumbled into it, they would invite you in and pour you introduce and invite you to the dance. That's what that feels like. So it's definitely not that energy. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So definitely the Brian Froud Oracle. Surprisingly, the Celtic Spirit. And I think out of all of the tarot decks, Circle of Life Tarot. Gosh, shall we pull a spread? Shall we pull a spread and ask who it was? So a card from each deck. Now really I should go back to the circle, which I might even go back to the circle with gifts and protection and pull the reading there. Perhaps it might be interesting to do a reading here and also do a reading there and see what differences we get. So there's one card from that. So the question I'm asking in my head is what was it? What was going on? What was going on? Who was there? What was going on? Okay, let's hope within this message as well we get an idea of what was I welcome? Although honestly I don't know, as I did feel welcome. I don't know whether I did feel welcome, possibly not. Okay, let's get a Brian Froud card, that one. Right, so I am really interested. Oh my gosh, I've got two. Okay, well, two it is. Two for a reason. Let's find out what that reason is. Okay, the first card. It really doesn't surprise me that there's water in this card. Like I said before, the woodland was absolutely full of water and I felt like I was being led down trails to water. I mean, if you think about the circle that I walked into a circle down a path to a river. I mean, we've almost got that represented here in the card. You've got a circle at the top with almost like a path down this body to a river. So that kind of says a lot. So the Seven of Chalices in this deck says a woman dances at the mouth of the river. Oh my gosh. The circle was a pathway through to like the opening to the river. So a woman dances at the mouth of a river. Behind her sits a goldfish who has its mouth open. The woman begins to wrap herself with gold clothing as chalices pour water back into the river. No way. It literally feels like a description of the setting where I had the experience. The woman steps forward out of the known waters. She knows nothing about where she is going and what she will face. She wraps herself up to protect herself from the unknown. The fish behind her must make a decision on whether it chooses to stay with the woman and die or go back to the waters to breathe. This card tells us to make life-impacting decisions carefully. Make the right choice. So choices and a river and a pathway to a river and standing at the mouth of a river and a woman and about protecting them herself. So perhaps the energy I felt was a female energy that felt she needed to protect herself. That's really interesting. I feel that that card very much mirrors the setting I was in. Oh my gosh. And here as well we have, it looks like a doorway with a lock going through into a circle of trees. Oh my gosh, with a river behind. Can you even make this stuff up? And it's heart center, connection, love and receiving. Wow, so perhaps this card is telling me I was welcome. It was just they didn't quite know what was going on. They felt that they had to protect themselves. Your heart center is where you connect to your external environment. No way. That opening line, the heart center is where you connect to the external environment. If ever this was a moment where me and my dogs felt connected and sucked through a doorway into the environment, it was that moment. It is no wonder that we associate this centre as green, just as nature shows itself to us. Receiving is a part of having an open heart centre. We must always be open to receiving if we are asking for something to come into our lives. There are many reasons why we close our heart centre down, and mainly it's due to being hurt. It may be emotionally, spiritually or physically hurt by another. We close ourselves off to people as a form of self-preservation. There's that sort of making good life decisions and self-protecting as well. Gosh. So this is talking about it's okay to be vulnerable. Where can you learn to love yourself again? Where can you learn to love your surroundings? And then it says, working with fairy energy also requires you to have an open heart. It requires you to be full of love for everything around you, the trees, the land, the animals. It requires sincerity, honesty and respect. When you come with an open heart full of love, you will be given access to other realms where so much more awaits you. Well, it's just given me the key to go back. There's the key, and the river is part of it. Wow. Okay, I feel seen. I feel called out, and I also feel like we've been given a key. And then we have got, there's the woman from the river, and that's what I felt in the trees. I can never read this writing, so this is Nellis the Alchemist and the Soul Shrinker. Oh my gosh, if any card kind of sums up how I started to feel, it's this one. So these two cards are quite incredible. So Nellis the Alchemist is a card about a being that is really involved in the transforming and the alchemical arts and changing things. She's somebody that steps forward to work with people who feel stuck. Now, the day before this walk, where me and the dogs had this experience, was the day that I filmed the hopelessness video that's up on my channel, where I spoke about the fact I'd been feeling very stuck and quite down and kind of given up hope about things changing. This fairy is a fairy that you work with to transform. She's Nellis the Alchemist. Honestly, the fact that the day before I'd felt the gorse calling and had felt things shifting and had acknowledged that I felt completely stuck, to then realise that it says, when Nellis turns up in your reading, get ready for things to happen inwardly and outwardly. The stuck becomes unstuck. The blocked begins to move. You may have to run to keep up with the speed at which the situation around you is moving. And I'd got down because I'd been trying different things and felt so stuck. And I thought, we're now a third of the way through the year and nothing's changed. Things are just stuck. And I'd made that video the day before just expressing that. So for these things to come up about protection and unsticking and allowing myself to be more vulnerable, opening up, working with Faye, it's a really strong message. But the soul shrinkers, now this fairy shows up when words and malicious gossip have caused destruction, cruelty, malice. And if you've been on my channel, you'll know I took quite a big break at the start of the year, because while I was feeling down and stuck, I did get some malice and cruel words sent my way, and I did think I was going to leave YouTube. I thought, I've got too much going on to deal with this. I just can't deal with it. And the Soul Shrinker looks this ugly because every time somebody speaks or sends out ugly words into the world, they take it on, it changes their appearance. And this is about understanding the implications of words and curses and malice and gossip and cruelty, to make sure that you are being compassionate towards yourself and to others, so that words bounce off you and that you don't add more to it, even if the person isn't hearing those malicious words. It's like not putting it out there at all. It says it doesn't mean that you're supposed to be all sweetness and light all the time. Constructive criticism given compassionately is a part of being real, but not to add to it. So this really incredibly speaks to where it incredibly speaks to where I was at emotionally in the work I need to do, whereas these two speak incredibly of that setting. So perhaps with working with the Fae, that place is incredibly important to go back to for this work in particular, to spend time at the mouth of the river, to do the transformation work, to pull tarot there, to go open-hearted as well, with nice words to let myself go into the space more protected. Wow, so I am incredibly blown away by this reading. For me, that's really impactful. For me, it helps to make sense of that amazing experience I had. And like the title of the video said, it's tarot matching life, bringing the tarot out to match a life experience, and to match it by going to the decks where the energy matches the experience. So like I say, I could have pulled a fairy reading with this deck, or I could have pulled a fairy reading with this deck, but the energy didn't match. For me, it was really important to match that energy of a real life experience, to match it with the energy of the deck. I think these three decks just completely jumped out at me, that these were the decks where there was a tarot matching life energy, and I think because of that I've got the reading that I needed to hear. So guys, strange one today, hopefully an interesting one. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it inspires you to match your life with tarot and to find energetic links, and then to pull readings utilizing that energetic link between an event or an experience and a deck. I think we feel energetic links for a reason. Let's really utilize them in our tarot practice, and yeah, let's explore these experiences with the magical, amazing messages that our cards can give us. So thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.